Hello and welcome to the SRA Specific Skills Spelling Book E. I'm going to go through the video and a little bit about the book before I start going through the pages. First and foremost, this is for educational purposes only. If you're planning on printing this out and you want to use this to the best of your ability, I highly suggest instead of just writing on the actual paper, first of all, this program you're supposed to be writing. At least I have my students when I'm tutoring handwrite everything because whenever you're physically writing something down, you're actively thinking. So you're building the information in your working memory. But you also want to train your working memory to store things properly into their proper categories. So long-term memory versus short-term memory. So it is going to allow you that recall for long-term memory. You want your working memory to properly store long-term information accordingly. So do that. You can still do multiple choice A, B, C, D if you want. I'm not there to be the overlord of your education or your program lessons for your child or your student. But I do want to say that at the end of this video, the answer key, if you aren't sure what kind of strategies and you don't want to wait to go through the whole video to see the different lessons, that's fine. I only spend 5 to 6 seconds per page anyway, just long enough to pause the video to look at the page. So if you don't have access to a printer, or I'm not going to be wasting my money printing things out unless I necessarily have to do it because ink is expensive. You can pause the video, work on your own sheet of paper. And again, and speaking of paper, I know that working on notebook paper, pen and pencils is annoying right now at this point because it's just work, 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 work. Use this opportunity to be a little creative. You can make little books out of these, and you can always reference them. These are great strategies I've used for SAT and ACT students that I've tutored. You want to be able to look at some of the spelling that's going on because it's going to help you to understand words, because these books introduce you to your Greek and Latin roots a little bit, but also even when you're using technology, you still have to type everything out and learn how to spell. You're still using your brain in doing that. But this will take, one less worry off of your plate when you have a good handle on how to spell words correctly. If you have a teacher, professor, or if you yourself, when you're conducting emails or text messages and you're not sure to spell something and you're tired of looking things up every 5 seconds, on how to spell something or to spell check it through the internet, well, one less work for you. So we do all the hard work on the front end when you're younger and your brain's a little bit more pliable. So you want to take advantage of that time so that when you're older, you don't have to struggle as much with some of these skills, because sometimes if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not constantly writing, you may forget some of these foundational things. But the answer key does break things down more specifically. The most important pages in these books to get familiar with in any of these books in the program are the to the teacher and to the student. I will stop talking after the to the student page once we get there, and spend just 5 to 6 seconds per page, because I'm going to show you what the book looks like. The letters of the book coincide with the grades, so book E would be 5th grade level. That doesn't mean that you need to be a 5th grader to do this book. It's just a way to show you that these are the expectations for that grade level. This is what you're supposed to be able to achieve, to master, to move on to the next grade level. They're not going to be reviewing this information that you learn in this book, so that for the ease of the educational practices, we don't want to review things that a teacher already spent a whole nother school year learning. So the expectation is you already know how to do this. We can't stop our lesson plan and learning activities that we're going to be doing to keep progressing into the next grade level, because then it's not progressing. You're not progressing. There's no progress from one grade to the next if you aren't retaining the information. That's when you need to know, okay, I'm not really good at this, I'm not savvy with this. Take that time, recognize that, get savvy with it, because the challenges um, that move on, they follow you. So finding those gaps early on, or at least if you understand, you know what, I'm already in middle school or I'm in high school now and I still have spelling gaps, come back. Move back. I have a book D, a fourth grade one. You can start there and build your way up from there. Gain that confidence back in your writing, because communicating appropriately is um, very important to making sure that people understand what you're thinking and where you're going with the information that you're presenting. I know that I'm doing a lot of talking that's not directly related to the spelling program itself, but this book has helped so many students, um, or this program, I should say, not just the spelling, but people don't realize the connection between spelling and reading and writing, and the way that these books work. If you've had a chance to look at the mechanics and the grammar books for this program, spelling is going to be helpful when you're doing that, because you don't want to hiccup as you're reading, because once you become a good speller, you'll become a good reader because you'll understand and recognize the words. So your reading level and your reading speed will increase. And along with that, since you know what the word is, you know what it means, your comprehension. So your reading comprehension is going to also increase. So these books really fold together very well. But take the time to get some construction paper and some markers or whatever, punch some holes in, make a little book. I've been suggesting in the videos, keep these books around to kind of review before the next grade level, before you start the next school year. Make sure you got a good handle on all these things so that you're not struggling in a lesson that's currently going on in class and you're more worried about, oh my gosh, I don't remember how to do that, instead of paying attention to what the teacher is saying and doing. So this is here to help you guys out. And the way that these programs work and the units work is, at the beginning of the unit, the very first page of every unit at the top, there's rules. Those rules and those notes and the examples that you need to be writing down, because these are the notes portion, so that you definitely need to be writing down to be able to remember and recall before proceeding on to the lesson. Now the questions, you're not expected to, once you read the rules or whatever, that once you read it you can't look up and review that. I noticed that with some of the high schoolers, because we get so in the groove of having to do time tests that students don't want to take the time to stop what they're doing. If they get to a point where they don't understand it, go back and look at the rule and do the classwork or the homework with that time, because they don't want to take the time to do that. With this book, you want to get familiar with that, with checking and double checking how you're progressing or understanding the information, because the application of these spelling rules are important to build on later on. And I also have book F as well, so if you wanted to move into the next book, or if you're going to Google or go to the different sites that the teachers have already provided or that you've learned from other parents or other students have mentioned, particular online resources that you can use, by all means, just take the time, write it down, review it. Then when it comes to the language activity pages, because once you finish so many units, you're going to be assessed on that. So these built-in assessments are to see how well you're retaining the information. So what does that mean? The notes that you're writing at the top of every page for each unit, you need to be reviewing and fully understanding those before moving on to the next set of lessons. So if you're at the language activity pages and you're striking out, you're just not understanding everything, go online or find some resources that are that go over those particular skill sets and practice a little bit more. And you can always use the grade level. So now that you know that Bookie is 5th grade, you can say fifth grade spelling strategy, rhyming, or rhyming strategy for spelling 5th grade. utilize that to help build that skill. Then do the language activity pages again or until you feel comfortable, and then move on. Okay, I don't think that you'll have too many problems because these books, this program, they explain things quite well. There are some instances though where I'm like, oh, it could be they could have fleshed this out a little bit more, but I know that, saving time on extra pages can be life-saving. So without further ado, let's continue. All right, so this is the to the student page. So this is an outline of what's going to be learned. So in Book E, there's a total of 10 units. And you're going to be going over rhyming strategy, convention strategy, visualization strategy. So these are all different strategies. Compound word, meaning, dictionary, proofreading, family strategy, foreign language strategy. Foreign language strategy just means Greek and Latin roots. So if you understand or you are familiar with certain roots, Greek or Latin roots, which many of us are, even at a younger age, you learn some of those things. It's very helpful. Family strategy is just identifying your prefix, suffix, root words, and things like that. Then they're going to give you an example. So do you see the use of the bolding? So they're going to show you, once they show you what the rule is, they're going to give you an example. So it's what we would call modeling. And when you're with your student, please make sure that you are doing the first couple questions for them to show. So we need active modeling, so someone actually has to show them how to do it. This is usually the part in at a school where the teacher's written the first two sentences maybe up on the board, and then they're showing how the word is being spelled, or giving an example of the transitioning from one word to a next, so like making a singular word plural and things like that. Of course, they do have images and things like that. They're going to use arrows. They're going to use brackets. They're going to use labeling. They're going to give you extra details. So to help better generate that foundation, and also by seeing it, it makes it easier to remember. And of course, like any classroom, a teacher is required to put the learning goal, the learning objective up on the board. This is presented here at the very bottom. So by the time you finish this book, here is the learning goal. You should master these particular things within your spelling. And also what you're going to be using from here on out. So with spelling specifically, these are strategies that you're going to learn and you're going to continue to use as you read. So any independent work that's being read by every student or child, they're going to be using this strategy to help identify unknown words, or to what I've told a couple of parents, if your child, which most children are expected to have a book being read independently at home at this point in time, take the time to have your child write a summary of what they read. So the first 20 or 30 minutes of reading, if you're given them that time limit, if you have a student that loves reading and they just keep going, they read for hours, I'd stop them at maybe 30 to 45 minutes and say, hey, what are you reading so far? Why don't you write me down a little summary of what's going on? And then, check for spelling. At that point, you can use the other books here, the mechanics, the grammar, and things like that, and paragraphs, to help encourage the stronger foundations and understanding of our language skills, reading and writing components. So reading and writing should be taught together. So that's one of the reasons why I say that writing everything down, the notes and things like that are important in really solidifying mastery of these skills, and less worry later on. So it's better to deal with the challenges now, overcome them, and progress now while they're young, or especially if they're reinforcing, to rebuild that connection. So it will be less of a problem later on, if not any problem at all. So without further ado, you're going to hear nothing else from me until the answer key at the end. and I will go ahead and get the answer key. So the answers for this particular book it goes on to 2 pages. So here's the first of the 2 pages. It's in chronological order by unit, and also paginations included as well, page numbers here. And also, like I was saying before, if you look at the answer key, you'll see some of the specifics: compound word strategy, and then visualization, so some of the things I was going over. I'm also going to zoom in for these written answers, because I know sometimes when I upload this to the YouTube, it sometimes does not make the text readable, so I'm going to spend that extra time zooming in. Okay, and then so we have the first and the second lap. And then there's the third lap. And then here's the last unit. So I'm just going to keep this zoomed in so that you can read the answers for the last lap as well. All right, you will find these videos for this particular program on Casey Kite on YouTube. Please take the time to look at other books as well. Encourage other students, if you've got a friend, or you know a family member, or someone you've heard or discussed as a parent, hearing another parent struggle, maybe this will help. At least have it there as an option. If you're a student that's kind of taking control a little bit and wanting to review yourself for your SAT or ACT, some of these strategies, or you just, you want to really get better at spelling, and you're fired up to kind of take care of it on your own, by all means, look at the other books to see if there's anything else that you want to build and strengthen in your reading and writing skills.